Alright, so the David situation got even worse because someone actually found the key card to David's car, which was his Tesla, seemingly dumped outside close to his home, and it was like dumped near this gutter to apparently hide it there. But real quick, let me just tell you in case you aren't aware of what's happening. Basically, this situation started when the Tesla of the artist David was discovered to have the unalived body of a 14-year-old girl inside it. And at that point, when this discovery was made, David wasn't inside that car or around it. And the name of the girl that was found was Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And very quickly, people online started discovering a lot of things that connected David to Celeste, and just a lot of really suspicious things and quote-unquote coincidences that were just way too specific, and it all just seemed super suspicious. Now let's come back to that situation with the Tesla keycard. So here we have this post from Drama Alert that says, David update. A Redditor discovered a Tesla key hidden in the gutters by David's house. Unfortunately, he touched the key and tampered with potential evidence. And so here you can see this first image where it's the person that found it and they're holding that Tesla key card, and you can see in the background that place where they found it, so it's like on the side of the road and it's where this gutter is, and it just very clearly is a Tesla key card. It says Tesla right there. That's exactly how these look. And then here we have the second image where we have a better angle, and because of that we can see more clearly what the gutter looks like, right? So you can see right there, this is the area where that key card was found, and you can see how there's like leaves and stuff there and all that. But real quick, just in case any of you don't know, the way that these Tesla key cards work is that instead of a regular key and regular key fob and all that, these Tesla key cards are like this alternative. And the way they work is you use these key cards to unlock the car the way you would with any normal key fob or key. And the car unlocks, and then also to start the car, you put them in like a specific place within the Tesla, and then that allows the car to start, right? So instead of carrying like a key and a key fob, you just have this card, and so that's how this works. Now, this is just really insane, right? Because up until now, the thing that was really like kind of working in David's favor was that, yes, it's a really insane situation. All of these like clues, you could say, and things like that, they were really like working against him. And, the car, of course, was his, and all like the connections to Celeste and all that, right? But what was working in his favor was that, David was not near the car, or like wasn't driving the car when the body was found, and this was at a time when he was away from it. And one of the arguments that was being made in favor of David was that, somebody stole his Tesla, stole his car, and then that person who stole it, they dumped the body in there. And so now David is in this situation because of that, and now he's being wrongfully accused of it, and now he has to deal with this situation, and everybody thinks it's him who did it. So that was like this theory that was being used to like defend David, right? But now this just changes everything, because this shows that, the key card for the Tesla was actually near his house outside, and it was dumped at a place which is just too specific, because it's a place where, it's kind of hidden. It was kind of hidden until this person found it, and it was hidden enough to the point where no one had found it up until now. And another thing is that even the police who actually raided that house that David was living in when this whole situation happened, when the police raided it, even then they didn't find this, right? So they were looking in the house and they didn't look here. So in terms of just the convenience of like how well it was hidden, it's just way too convenient that, it was hidden in a place where it was very hard to find, almost like somebody put it there on purpose. Now real quick, I just want to say that I'm giving out shoutouts on this channel to people who subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment letting me know that they subscribed. If you do that, then in the next video, I'll give you a shoutout. Now anyway, back to the video. So yeah, coming back to that thing I was talking about with the police and where the card was hidden and all that, leading up to the police raiding the house that David was living in, there is a possibility, not saying that this is what he did or anything like that, right? But I'm just putting this out there, right? There's this possibility that, let's say, leading up to the police raid, David was like, okay, I gotta hide this key card somewhere because, I can't have them find that this is in my house and, I actually have this key card. At that point, it's like too obvious that it's not like the car was stolen or anything, because he had the key card, So there's this possibility that leading up to that raid, he could have been like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna hide this key card somewhere. And it can't be like inside the house because the police are gonna be looking everywhere. And so let's hide it outside the house in that gutter over there because nobody's gonna be looking for it over there. But again, I do wanna state that I'm not saying that this is what happened. I'm just saying that this is a possibility. So far, we don't have any confirmation of this happening. We're just going off of what we've seen so far and, we're just discussing possibilities here. And regardless of how suspicious things seem, in terms of how the law views David so far, as of right now, as of the recording of this video, David still has not been convicted of anything, right? So, that rule of like innocent until proven guilty, of course, that rule applies here as well. And so far, David hasn't been proven guilty, he hasn't been like convicted of anything. So that's just how it is right now. The police are still investigating this situation and, they're just like gathering evidence and just seeing what's going on and investigating, because these things take time, and it's a very thorough process. It's a very like in-depth and detailed process. So it's not like the authorities are going to come to some kind of conclusion super quickly or anything like that. But now going back to that thing where that person found the key card, the issue is that person ended up touching the key card, so that person went to what is now a crime scene basically, and they've interfered with it. They touched it, and so now that person's DNA is on it, so that's a problem. And so this was the thing that was being referred to in that post I showed in the beginning, where it said that unfortunately he touched the key and tampered with the potential evidence, right? That's what it was referring to. And you know how these things work. When you have a situation like this, when you have like a crime scene like this potential evidence, what happens is that the crime scene investigators take over and they're the ones doing the investigation. I'm sure you guys have seen that stuff in like movies and TV shows or something like that, right? So you know how that stuff works. They use like DNA samples and stuff like that to figure out whose DNA was like on the evidence and like at the crime scene. So they use that to like figure out who it was. So yeah, in that sense, this definitely like could have been better, if this person hadn't interfered with it and rather just reported it to the police without actually touching it. But hey, at least this has been found. I think it's better than nothing, right? And another thing about this is that because this key card has now been found so close to the house that David was living in, that theory or explanation that was actually in favor of David about how David wasn't the one who did this and rather someone stole his car and did this, so it looks like David did it, but actually it wasn't him and it was that other person. The thing about that theory now is that it makes way less sense now, because now that theory would go like that person stole David's car, did it, and then after that they took the key card that they had stolen and then went over to where David lived and then outside of his house hid the key card close to his gutter. And it's like, okay, well, dude, this is making even less sense now. Like, this wouldn't just be somebody who's like a criminal or like a thief or something like that then, because why would they go back to this person's house? Like, that's so risky, right? Like, you can easily get caught. You stole from somebody and now you're going close to their house, like basically going to their house. That just doesn't make sense. And so maybe now you would have to like amend your theory then, or like change your explanation then, and you could now make this explanation that maybe he was like getting framed. So it wasn't just some criminal, but rather somebody who was motivated to specifically take down David and frame him for this horrible thing and like ruin his life and stuff. And so they specifically went back and put that key card there on purpose. Because then it actually makes sense that that person would be like risking it all, going over to David's house and doing this, a situation where they could have easily been caught. And now I don't want you guys to think like I'm defending David or anything. I'm just pointing out that these are like certain theories that people have put forward, and these are people who think that David is innocent, his supporters and whatnot. So I just wanted to mention these, So anyway, guys, those were my thoughts on the situation, and now I'm interested in hearing what you have to say down in the comments below. So leave a comment letting me know what you think, and we can have a discussion down there. And with all that being said, guys, this is Alexi, signing out.